Listen to me read few pages of Wahala, a novel by Nikki. Please note this is not an audiobook, it's just a preview, and if it hooks you, support the author. If you have the book already, let's keep the excitement going. This is the cover. It's colorful, another colorful cover. First, the blurb. Ronke wants happily ever after, and after 2.2 kids. She's dating Kayode and wants him to be the one, perfect, like her dead father. Her friends think he's just another in a long line of dodgy Nigerian boyfriends. Boo has everything Ronke wants, kind husband, gorgeous child, but she's frustrated, unfulfilled, plagued by guilt, and desperate to remember who she used to be. Simi is the golden one with the perfect lifestyle. No one knows she's crippled by imposter syndrome and tempted to pack it all in each time her boss mentions her urban vibe. Her husband thinks they are trying for a baby. She's not. When the high-flying, charismatic Isobel explodes into the group, it seems at first she's bringing out the best in each woman. But the more Isobel intervenes, the more chaos she sows, and Ronke, Simi, and Boo's close friendship begins to crack. Alright, let's take a look at, does he have a prologue? Let's take a look at the aftermath. Am I strong enough? The woman sits huddled in the corner of her bedroom. Her dress is ruined, the button missing, the belt ripped. One seam has come apart, exposing her bare shoulder. She's clutching a sculpture in both hands. It's a head, a little under life size. She stares into its unblinking eyes, willing it to come to life. She wants it to tell her that this is not her fault, that there's nothing she could have done differently, that she's the victim here. But it's made of leaded brass. It can't speak. With trembling hands, she places it gently on the carpet. Then, holding the split halves of her wrapped dress together, she clambers to her feet. Am I strong enough? She knows the answer. Justice must be done. She picks up the phone. Help me, please. 4 months earlier. 1. Ronke. Pounded yam and egusi, eba with okra. No, it had to be pounded yam, but maybe with efo riro. Ronke ran through the menu in her head as she walked up the hill to Buka. She knew it by heart, but that didn't make choosing any easier. As usual, she wanted it all. And as usual, she was running late. She stopped at the cash point anyway and withdrew £100. The girls teased her, told her it was an urban myth. But ever since Ronke had heard the story about Simi's cousin's friend getting her card cloned at Buka, she'd paid in cash. Ronke had been looking forward to their Niger lunch all week, and not just because of the food. For the first time in ages, when Simi asked, "So what's new?" the answer wouldn't be nothing. She hustled past the Sainsbury local, the Turkish grocery, and the Thai neighbor. The Nigerian flag outside Buka was looking a little tatty, frayed at the edges. The green was still vibrant, but the white was a dirty beige. Ronke studied her reflection in the shiny mirror door, yanked at her hair to fluff up some of the curls, parted to flatten some down, as good as it gets. At least once a day, someone said to her, "I wish I had curly hair." But Ronke knew better. Curls meant freeze, knots, and chaos. She pushed open the door and stepped out of suburban London and into downtown Lagos. The smell hit her first. Smoky burnt palm oil, fried peppers and musty stockfish. Next came the noise. Fela Kuti bled out of the speakers, struggling to compete with a group of three men at a corner ball, talking over each other. And because this was effectively Nigeria, their voices were louder, accents stronger, gesticulations wider. The waiter looked up with a scowl as Ronke turned to shut the door. She knew his eyes would linger on her ass. It felt like home. She spotted Simi deep in conversation with a striking woman and felt a spike of irritation. Just us two, Simi had said. The stranger had long-toned limbs and glossy brown skin. She looked almost sculpted. Something about her profile was familiar, and for one heartbeat, Ronke was sure she knew her from somewhere. She blinked, and the feeling disappeared. She didn't know anyone who showed side boob at lunch or had such an over-the-top blonde weave. Ronke tried to tamp down her annoyance as she wove between the tables towards them. The men stopped talking and turned to watch her, and she realized she was holding in her tummy. Simi stood and beamed at Ronke. It was easy to love Simi. When she looked at you, she made you believe you were the only person in the world she wanted to see. Simi had given Ronke the same grind the first time they met, 17 years ago, at Freshers Week in Bristol. Teeth, dimples, sunshine, joy. Ronks, this is Isobel. You're going to love her. Simi spread her arms out in welcome. I wouldn't bet on it, thought Ronke. She leaned into Simi's hug and fixed a smile on her face before turning to say hello to the interloper. Still, 3 people meant 3 starters. This Isobel had better be a sharer. Simi poured her a glass of fizz as Ronke unwound her scarf. Champagne? Ronke asked. We always have rose at Booker. It's not £40 a bottle, she didn't add. Simi nudged Ronke with her knees under the table. Iso's allergic to cheap wine, she said, and we are celebrating. Yes to my divorce, said Isobel, holding her glass aloft, and to friends, old and new. Ronke thought divorce was a strange thing to celebrate, but she smiled and cleaned glasses. The waiter plunked 3 massive menus on the table, pages and pages of laminated sheets nestled in false leather folders. Ronke adored the old-fashioned, overlong menu, the notable absence of words like seasonal, local, and sustainable, the bad spelling and dodgy typography. She stroked her menu, and a rush of nostalgia flooded through her, echoes of long family lunches at Apapa Club. Wetin you people want? The waiter asked, glaring down at them. Another bottle of this. Isobel gestured at the empty champagne bottle. The waiter's frown deepened. Thank you, called Ronke to his retreating back. She tended to overcompensate with waiters, even rude ones. Isobel is embarrassingly rich, said Simi, but she loves throwing her money around, so I forgive her. Ronke laughed in spite of herself. How do you two know each other? We met when we were 5, said Simi. The only half-caste kids in our class. Simi, you can't use that word, said Ronke. Oh, come on, this is us. Everybody called us half-caste in Lagos. You can't even think it in LA, unless you want to be sent on a race awareness course. Isobel stroked Simi's arm. It's so good to have my Alabama back. We clocked each other straight away. You know how it is when you spot another mixed-race person in Lagos. Simi made exaggerated air quotes as she said mixed-race. Isobel beat up a boy on our first day. After that, we were inseparable. He deserved it, said Isobel. The little shit called you a mongrel. It was only a little tap. You knocked 2 of his teeth out, said Simi. He insulted us. Anyway, it worked, Isobel smiled. No one messed with us after that. Ronke tried and failed to place her accent. Is your mom American? Russian? My dad was working in Moscow. That's where they met. Isobel placed her hand on Ronke's arm. Her nails were electric blue, long and pointy. What about you? I want to know everything. Ronke fiddled with her scarf and glanced around for the waiter. She hated talking about herself. My mom's English. I was born in Lagos, but we moved here when I was 11. Have you looked at the menu? Ronke is the best dentist in London, Simi said, and an amazing cook. I'm not. Ronke wished Simi would stop jabbering like an overexcited PR. But I do love food. We should order. They are so slow here. Simi ignored her. She's practically perfect, apart from her dodgy taste in men. Ronke clenched her jaw and looked around for the waiter. Isobel clapped her hands together and beamed. Me too. I knew we'd get on. I always go for the bad boys. Kayode isn't a bad boy. Ronke glared at Simi and yanked at a call. I love your hair, said Isobel. How do you get it to spiral like that? Is it real? Ronke gave Simi one more hard look, then turned to Isobel. Yes, it's real. This isn't. Isobel flicked her blonde mane from side to side. No kidding, thought Ronke. She didn't want to be mollified. Let's order, I'm starving. Quick, Simi said. If Ronke gets hungry, we're in for it. She'll bitch slap us with these tacky menus. Ronke patted her menu as she swallowed down another twig of annoyance. Hunger was a real thing. She would read an article about it in the Sunday Times just last week. I'm not doing carbs. Well, apart from wine, said Simi. Fish pepper soup. No carbing in a Niger restaurant? Isobel's laugh was high-pitched and jangly. You're such a coconut. I'll have amala with ogbono and assorted meats. Jollof rice with chicken for me, said Ronke. She couldn't bring herself to order pounded yam in front of skinny, glamorous Isobel. Are we having starters? She added hopefully. Isobel and Simi picked at their food. They were too busy chatting about the good old days. Their Nigerian childhoods had been filled with swimming pools, beach clubs, air conditioning, drivers and maids. Ronke's memory were of noisy family gatherings, power cuts, spicy street food, the car breaking down and playing clamping games with her cousins in the dusty courtyard. Ronke listened as she ate. Simi was wearing a single oversized earring, which made her look lopsided. Isobel, on the other hand, was perfectly balanced, shoulders back, head held high, blonde fringe perfectly straight. Isobel pushed her plate away after 3 tiny bites. Don't stare, Ronke told herself, fighting the temptation to spare a piece of shaki off her plate. Her jollof had been so-so. She should have ordered the yam. Thank God she was getting a takeaway. The waiter dragged himself away from the TV and sauntered over to clear their table. Ronke watched as he slammed her empty plate on top of Isobel's, squishing the black pillow of amala. What a waste. Isobel's phone buzzed. Got to go, she said. My driver is here. I will get this, my treat. She went to the bar to pay the bill, surveying past the rowdy men. One of them eating eba and egusi with his hand in the traditional way, paused, licked his fingers, and called out to her, Hello, Lucius yellow baby. Why don't you come and greet us, eh? Ronke froze. Simi tottered, but Isobel was unfazed. She winked and put even more swagger into her work as she came back to the table. She bent to give Simi a hug, a kiss from Ronke, and then she was gone, the door slamming behind her. Now wow, said Ronke. That's Iso, said Simi. She has a driver. In London, her dad's loaded. I mean proper rich. He was in the government and in business. Legalized corruption, you know the type. My dad used to be his lawyer, but they had a big falling out. She's been through hell, so he's been ultra protective. What sort of hell? A dodgy ex-husband, the controlling sort. He told her what to wear, who to see, how to spend her own money. Fucked her over. I'm guessing he was violent, but I didn't want to pry. That's not like you, said Ronke. Simi held her hands up in protest. She was close to tears. I couldn't keep pushing her to talk. Ronke tried to imagine Isobel crying, but couldn't. But she seemed so confident, so self-assured, so shiny. Runks, you know how it is. We all have faces we put on. I think her dad came to the rescue, saved her from him, hence Boris, the driver cum bodyguard. Boris, you are joking. Okay, I made that up. But Boris suits him. He's massive and he's Russian. Simi said the last bit in a terrible Russian accent, and they both burst into giggles. I need to order a takeaway for Boo, said Ronke.